The Reset podcast is sponsored by Bose. With my new Bose QC35 headphones, nothing gets between me and my music. The noise canceling is world class, they're completely Bluetooth, so there's no wires. The sound is amazing. My producer and I love these so much that we use them to record every single show. For more information about Bose QC35 headphones and other Bose products, check out Bose.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Laura Mignott, co-founder of the brand experience agency Digital Flash, and we're coming to you from New York City. Each week, I bring an influential friend from marketing, business, or even government, and we'll delve into what's really happening in the industry and try and make sense of it all. Of course, we can't talk about marketing without talking about how it impacts this very moment in time. We'll laugh, we'll debate, and we'll give frank insight into the ongoing reset of the world of marketing and how to navigate your way through, all while enjoying wine and french fries on my couch. This week, I'm so happy to welcome the amazing Heidi Beyer, aka Brooklyn Allergy Mom. In addition to overseeing that blog, Heidi runs the Brooklyn Food Allergy Caregiver Support Group, is chairman of the board of the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America, and for her day gig is CEO of Newmoto.com, a rep firm for digital artists. Hi, Heidi.
Hi, Laura.
So the way the podcast always works is that I always start off with a fun intro question, and it's really easy, but it always takes us in really fun and interesting ways to hear your background story. So as we kick off, Heidi, what was your first job?
Well, my first job was actually working in the cornfields in Nebraska.
Shut up.
Yeah. And the job that I had before that I didn't get paid for was working on a feedlot in Nebraska, branding cattle as they came into the feedlot. But I didn't get paid for that.
Hold up. How does one end up in Nebraska branding cows?
Well, it was kind of a second marriage for my mother that didn't last very long. But while I was there, living downwind of a feedlot, part of the requirement was that we had to get a summer job. So we went down to the local courthouse to get a work permit, and literally DeKalb, the company, would hire the kids from the town as well.
Is that legal?
Yes, it is. As long as if you were on a farm, you could be a farm worker at the age of 13, 14.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm. So that's how old I was.
And how does one brand a cow?
Well, very carefully.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of people out there that don't eat meat anymore, and that's probably one of the reasons because of the inhumane treatment of animals at feedlots. And so we'll leave it there.
Oh God. Warm and fuzzies. Okay. That sounds
not a
awesome.
lot of care there.
Not a lot of care.
No.
Oh dear. And then after branding the cows, your next job was?
In the cornfields. Roguing and detasseling. You take the tops off the corn so that they don't cross-pollinate.
Really?
So it's the animal feed corn that you're really concerned with cross-pollinating with the people corn. So the machines go through the rows and they pick out the tassels, but then they leave some behind because the machines aren't perfect, right? So then as human beings, you have to go through, and the corn has to be at least like a little bit taller than me, usually quite a bit taller than me, which I almost got fired because I actually couldn't reach a lot of it. I had to
you're a pygmy.
Jump up and bend down and pull it out, and it was back-breaking work. It really was.
God.
Yeah.
And you were like a teenager?
Yeah. I was a kid. I was like 13, 14.
Holy mother.
And, it was like $2 an hour or something.
Heidi, what do you do?
What do I do for a living now?
Yes, because you are like, you're much like many Jamaican women, whereby you have 18 different jobs.
Right.
So I feel like we should start with the one that you can start with the one that you want to start with because.
Okay.
Go for it.
Awesome. So right now I am the founder and the president of a company called Newmoto. That's Numodo, for those of you who are wondering.
We will put it in the show notes.
And I represent creative companies, and I started out thinking that I wouldn't call myself a representative or a rep. And then I just found that it was so much easier to explain to people what I do. So I'm basically the de facto business development for right now 4 companies, soon to be 5, all over the world, 1 in Sweden, 1 in London, 1 in New York, soon to be Toronto and Los Angeles. And with varying, capabilities. So I have a digital agency that also does VR for Jay Leno's Garage. I have a company here in New York City called Postal that also does post-production and beautiful graphics. I have a company in London who's doing amazing character animation, illustration, and then the company in Sweden that's doing a lot of sort of what we would call long-form content for the web. It's maybe 4 to 8 minutes. A lot of the work that they're doing is for the World Wildlife Fund. So they're flying all over the world to help save, elephants and tigers and things like that.
Wow. Okay, job 1.
That's job 1. Job 2 is chairman of the board for the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America, which is an unpaid position.
I was going to say that doesn't sound like you get paid for this.
But one in which that I am the de facto boss to the CEO of this amazing organization, and he's an amazing man, Dr. Kerry Sennett, and we've been working together for about a couple of years. I just signed on for another 2 years to be chairman, and due to this new political climate, I hope to have my time on Capitol Hill at some point, testifying in front of Congress about why the ACA needs to stay.
I feel like you're going to need to be doing that extremely soon.
Yes, I think so too. So,
I'm going to see you on C-SPAN in like 2 weeks, aren't I?
Thank you. I'm all too happy. Mr. Chuck Schumer, give me a call.
We'll tweet it out. Well, we will actually tweet that out.
You're my guy. I'm happy to say, don't take my ACA away.
God knows you can't, because we all need it.
Then the third is, and I always look at everything as like a triumvirate. Like, you can't have just one thing in your life. And so I had to have a couple, and then I had to have a third. The third is the Brooklyn Allergy Mom blog and brand, which actually led me to everything else that I do today.
How did you? I think it's a great sort of jumping off point. Like, how did you come to become the Brooklyn Allergy Mom, other than living in Brooklyn?
Well, first you have to have a child with food allergies.
Step 1.
Yeah, step 1.
Have a child.
Have a child, then have it with food allergies. So our daughter's 19 years old now. She was born with severe anaphylaxis to multi-foods. So, like, for instance, the recent NIH addendum that came out, I was on Fox 5 News talking to the beautiful Jennifer Lammers.
I saw that article.
Thank you.
And I was like, what is Heidi doing on Fox 5?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'll forgive you, because it was...
Well, as the chairman of the board of the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America, it was important to clarify why that had come out. And that 3 of our members of the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America were actually on that panel that made that recommendation. So that was quite an accomplishment for the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America. So getting back to how Brooklyn Allergy Mom came about as a brand, it was it 2006, 2007? And I was really into exploring social media, and I thought, well, what's Twitter all about? I'm in media. I'm producing promos for HBO, Sci-Fi, USA, post-producing them. And social media was just very fascinating to me. So I created the brand, Brooklyn Allergy Mom. That seemed like the most interesting thing that I could do at the time.
That was available online.
It was available online. And so I started tweeting out, and I met other people in the allergy space, and we all got together, and one of them said, why don't you have a blog? Like, you make this great food. You made like this clementine olive oil cake. I want the recipe. Other people should know about you.
Be sure to follow Heidi on Instagram, by the way, because she puts up the dishes that she makes, and they are fire.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yes, thank you. I would advise portion control, because the food is my nemesis. Anyway, so that's how I created Brooklyn Allergy Mom, and then really controlled the brand, because I think there was a time when I'm going to really segue and pivot right now.
Go for it.
Is that okay?
You're allowed.
So what the challenge was as an allergy mom, raising a child with severe food allergies, anaphylaxis, in need of injectable epinephrine everywhere we went, is that, number one, you have a belief problem. People don't believe it.
Right.
Okay. Huge problem. And that's not just with like, you know, people you're talking to on the street. This is with your family, your mother-in-law, your mother, you know, your husband to some degree.
Like, what do you mean she can't eat blah, blah, blah?
Right, exactly.
And you're like,
that's impossible.
Yeah, no, she can't eat it.
Yeah, no, she really can't have it. And then there was the school dilemma. So we're the people in schools that are taking away peanut butter from your kids.
Right.
Like I was a bad person.
Right. So you were that mom.
I never advocated taking peanut butter away from kids, but there were a lot of other allergy moms that were like, I can't have peanut butter in the room because my child will react. And that was real. That was real for them. It wasn't ever real for us. But we had this reputation to fix.
Right.
So how do we do that? No one person could do that, right?
It takes a village.
So it took a village. So it took bloggers conference, food allergy bloggers conference, the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America, the Kids with Food Allergies Foundation, policy makers on the Hill, President Obama's child to have a peanut allergy. That we then got peanut allergy legislation passed.
Really?
Basically, he made it all right for schools to carry injectable epinephrine. What happened was it made it all right for states to pass state-by-state legislation saying that schools can carry undesignated injectable epinephrine for those children that may have a reaction during school hours that had no known reaction to food or medication or bee stings before that.
Because schools were worried about liability because of that, right?
It's not the schools. It's the law between, well, it is the liability. You're right. It's the liability. But it's also the role of the school nurse.
Right.
Versus the role of the school.
Got it.
So in other words, it's going to get really nitty gritty for a second.
That's okay.
If you have a child in a public school, and you don't fill out this card that says, you may treat my child no matter what happens, if that child falls ill, the nurse cannot do anything.
Got it.
With this new law and with epinephrine in the schools, now the nurse can save kids' lives, and they have been saved.
Wow.
So,
when I think about when I was in elementary school and there were kids who had different types of allergies in our school. And I always felt bad for them because, like, there's this stigma around it. Everyone's like, well, this kid can't do this and they can't do that. And how is it being a parent, having, with your child to say, like, it's going to be okay? Because, like, everyone's sort of like, okay, well, this is the kid who took our peanut butter away.
Right. Well, what ends up happening is, children grow up in spite of everything, right? But what we try to do as parents, is let her know what she could have and let her feel good about that instead of feeling deprived of what she couldn't have.
Right.
And sometimes what happened was she would come in with her beautiful sandwich or beautiful food, and the kids would like, I don't want this peanut butter sandwich. I want your food. Right, because your stuff was like because your food looks good. So then she was like, "Wow, yeah, I think this is going to be okay. Okay, I don't need the peanut butter anyway." Sort of moving through those years of learning what all the diagnosis was and understanding it and moving through, food challenges, in-office food challenges with doctors was challenging for her and for us. But then you have to move to giving her the ability to be her own self-advocate. Right. At a certain point. I can't do everything all the time. Yeah, they've got to have their own. They've got to step out on their own, and mom won't always be there to help. So you've got to take your own self-advocacy in order to survive. Right. And sometimes they make mistakes, like, because you're a kid. Yeah. If you think about like all the things you have to do when you're a little kid, you have to remember to do, much less, oh wait, I can't do X, Y, and Z, or I could die. That's a tremendous weight on folks. Do you think that allergies are just more prevalent now, that more people are just getting allergies more frequently, or we're just paying attention more now, and that's why we're seeing this uptick? Yeah, I get that question a lot, actually. And first, it's important to remember that I'm not a doctor. I'm
Well, you
just a
play one on
mom.
TV.
I'm just a mom, and I have one patient, my child, and myself, and of course, my husband. So, prevalence, not sure. I can't tell you. Is it that we're paying more attention? Probably. But the other thing that I have heard, and I'm not sure it's been proven, is that the rate of anaphylaxis has increased. Everyone tells the story. My son had, milk allergy when he was a baby, but he grew out of it by the time he was 5.
Right.
Children are not growing out of those as quickly as they were in the past. And additionally, the reactions seem to be worse, meaning anaphylaxis, which is literally your body shuts down and you die. All your organs shut down during anaphylaxis.
Wow. And is that like when your throat closes up, or?
Yes, but throat closing can be one sign. You can just faint, and not even feel the throat closing, and then go into anaphylaxis that way. Yeah.
Whoa. When you look at getting into this universe of being an advocate, what is the one thing you now know that you wish you knew when you first started?
Being an advocate?
Yeah.
That's a really interesting question because I don't really look back and go, wow, I wish I had known that when I first started out. It's more like, wow, how much this has changed me as opposed to knowledge.
Yeah.
So it's like perspective.
Yeah, totally.
So the perspective is like, I just wasn't used to speaking out or speaking up. And now it's like, I have no problem.
Really,
I have
Heidi?
no problem speaking up and speaking out about things. I can really literally count 2 people in my early years that didn't have kids with food allergies that were really supportive. And I'm really thankful for them. Like looking back, I would have looked for more people that could be like that, or I would have tried to be really good friends with them. But because I had a child with food allergies, I was constantly cooking and shopping and whatnot.
Right.
Kept me pretty busy.
And what would you say, like, if, you're a parent and you want to find out all this information, do you think it's become easier now to get this information, or is it still a struggle for finding information about how to, one, find out what food allergies your kids have and ways to make foods so that they'll be okay? Like, has that universe gotten easier, or is it so much where there's such wealth of information that means there's just such a wealth of misinformation? So you really have to still do a lot of digging in order to figure out what's not the right path, but like a good, smart path to go down.
Right. I think the information is out there. I'm really happy about that. I think that people can easily find Kids with Food Allergies .org online. They can easily find AFA online, afa.org. But I think the challenges are still the same, and I would like to see them get easier. The challenge of, how's my child going to get into preschool? How are they going to, how do I find a good preschool that's going to advocate for them, or that's not going to serve Ritz crackers and peanut butter because it's the cheapest thing to serve? Those are still the things today that parents are going through. And I wish they didn't have to go through that. And there is a recommendation on how to treat children. The CDC put it out a while back in a food setting, in a school setting. Chicago is doing the best job of anyone. The Chicago public school system is doing the best job of any public school system in the country in managing that.
Really? Why Chicago?
They had a death.
Oh, wow.
And so after that, the Chicago school system really
got it together.
Put, forgive my saying, but balls to the wall.
We're allowed to
got it
here.
together. And got it together, and they did a really great job. I would just like to see that part of navigating food allergies easier for parents. If you walk into a school, even if it's a public school, when we walked into a couple of them, they just did not want us there, honestly. They couldn't help but accept us. It's not a warm and fuzzy feeling to walk in and say, my kid has food allergies, I need accommodations. We're still not there yet.
Do you think it's a stigma problem, or is it you're upsetting the apple cart of what the school's about? Why is it that? Because I feel like I see it more now than ever with regard to allergies and making sure that people are aware of them. But you're on the ground as a parent. Like, what do you think the issue is? Why are people still like not getting it like together?
Well, I don't know that it's people aren't still not getting it together as much as schools just don't have the resources that they want to put in front of it to make it an easier segue. Every time a parent comes in with a special need, it's not so. So let's back up for a second. So my child has over, let's say, 30 food allergies. Somebody else's kid has one, and it's a peanut allergy. My child can be in a room with peanuts, peanut butter, any other food. Somebody else's child cannot. They would have a reaction. So I think part of it is some children, there's not an allergy child one size fits all.
Right.
So then the solution isn't a one size fits all solution. So it's a challenge for schools.
So it's mainly public schools. Do you think private schools do they make accommodations, or is it really just a systematic problem whereby like there aren't these huge guidelines that you can say like, if students have X, Y, and Z, here are the accommodations. It's still largely a case-by-case, student-by-student basis.
Right. I mean, some children have food allergies, but they're not considered disabled because of them. Others have food allergies who are considered disabled because of them. It just depends on how much it impacts your quality of life.
Wow. And I mean, it's funny because like and then with your other organization that you are the unpaid chairwoman of, how did you get there? Like, and does that sort of segue?
Well, that's how I got there.
They all kind of put it together.
So I'm Brooklyn Allergy Mom. I go to Kids with Food Allergies. It was a listserv at the time. And I get on there and I'm like, I have this 2-year-old. She's going to be in preschool. I don't even know if she can go to preschool. I take her into a coffee shop. She breaks out in hives from the sesame seeds, whatever, smell in the air. Can somebody help me, So I began to belong to this community of other parents like me all across the United States, also in the UK and Australia. And now we're very international. We have people on there from all over the world, including Israel. So that's where I sought out my help. And then in 2005, it became a nonprofit. And that's when the nonprofit president called me, Linda Mitchell, who we had been talking for years, and said, do you want to help me? And I said yes. So I became chairman of the board of the Kids with Food Allergies Foundation, and then it merged with AFA, the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America. So while I was chairman of the board, we merged with a larger organization. So then I was a board of director for that organization, and then they named me chair a couple of years ago.
And in your role as chair, how often do you boss people around? And what do you have? And what do you have to do as chair?
Do I boss them around?
Of course.
No.
Darn.
No, I don't boss people around at all. Actually, it's a governance position, and that's why another reason why I'm so thankful of being able to be a part of a nonprofit is to learn governance, which is something that I'm still not so good at. But
you just want to bash down some doors and be like, fix this.
Pretty much, yeah. The old producer in me comes out. I was like, why aren't we there yet? Where's the shoot? I don't care if you got penguins running around.
Make it happen.
Yeah, make it happen. So I think that in that way, it's been a really great learning experience for me. I contribute my mom point of view and the fact that I also have food allergies. I'm allergic to walnuts and pistachios now, and I'm also gluten-free. And mustard.
Mustard?
Oh, that's a bad one.
That's a bad one.
That's
everything.
I know. They sneak it into all sorts of fun things.
What do you? I mean, interestingly enough, what do you substitute something like that for? Because like mustard's in like everything.
You don't. You just avoid it.
There's no there's no like other thing that you could use that sort of tastes like mustard?
You could use turmeric or saffron, I guess, in place of mustard, but you're still not going to get that je ne sais quoi.
Of mustardy business.
Right, mustardy business.
Oh.
But anyway, enough about me. But getting back to the nonprofit, but the other thing that really has impressed me is learning much more about government and how government works.
And are you still traumatized?
A little bit. I'm still trying to, I still kind of don't understand, but I'm getting there.
And do you think, from a government standpoint, do you really think that we've talked about this in the show a couple of times about how to get involved
right.
locally. How do you get involved from your side of the universe? Is it really being a part of a nonprofit? Is it writing letters? Like,
Sure.
what have you seen to be the most effective, or hasn't been effective?
Yeah. Well, I think personally the most effective thing is working through a nonprofit that has your back. So whatever the nonprofit that you choose, if it's GLAAD, if it's NOW, if it's the Parkinson's Foundation, the American Lung Association, whatever really you feel passionate about, you can work through any of those as a volunteer. Or start asking around. Do people need board members? If you're a lawyer, do they need board member help for law? If you're an accountant, do they need help in their finance committee? If you're just in your neighborhood and you love your neighborhood, you have your community boards. Look it up. Go to a meeting.
Say hi to those people.
Say hi to those people. They're the ones that get stuff done in your local neighborhood. Eric Adams, love that guy.
You knock on his door quite frequently. He knows you by first name basis at this point.
I bet you if you said, Heidi Byer, Brooklyn Allergy Mom, he would probably say yes.
He's like, oh, that woman.
Yes. Well, he came to a fundraiser that we had at Sephora a couple of years ago. Yeah, I had a great opportunity to talk to him one-on-one about what we're doing at the Kids with Food Allergies Foundation. And why we were actually at Sephora was because one of the women who worked at Sephora, her 6-year-old died of anaphylaxis.
Oh, wow.
So they had a chance to give $4,000 to an organization of their choice, and they chose Kids with Food Allergies Foundation. I never got to meet the woman. Unfortunately, she was still too upset. She hadn't come back to work yet. But this was a way that they showed and honored her and mourned the death of her daughter.
Yeah, it's just tragic that it takes something like you were saying in Chicago, like it took a child to die before changes had to be made, and we're moving into a whole new set of circumstances in a few weeks, and
yes.
So now, what do you think the future kind of holds with what you guys are up to? How are you guys looking towards the future? Like, what are you gonna bang on Chuck Schumer's door? Are you gonna go to Congress and stand on the steps and yell at Paul Ryan? Where do you guys kind of see yourselves being able to not shut up and keep it moving?
Well, the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America, I can't really talk on what our, on this granular level. No. But we work through our constituents and our members. We have a policy person that's always on the Hill. We will, add our voice to a lot of the other nonprofits, like the American Lung Association. We go in on with them on the climate change initiative that we did. And so we band together to create a larger voice. So I'm sure we will do much more of that in the near future.
So it's like Transformers.
Yes.
You make a Decepticon, and you all come together.
You are bigger together. Yeah.
Awesome. It's kind of interesting because, you have had this great career whereby you're a producer, and all those tools that you had in terms of getting stuff done now come in to be so useful in your land of advocacy. But yet you're still the woman who puts all the strings together of all those agencies. What's been the most rewarding thing for you throughout your career and working with all these different organizations?
One of the most rewarding things in my career is just being where I am right now, right? I always wanted to have my own company and do things my own way. So I'm really, really, this is the reward. Where I am now is the reward.
So sitting here with me on
sitting
a Friday
here
afternoon.
With you on Friday afternoon. My first intern, Daisy Sanchez, is out there working on some mailings for me, and this is where I want to be. This is a very, very happy time and a happy place for me. And as you know, it's not easy starting your own company. No. I mean, we knew each other right before we started our own company.
We were wait, we're going to do this? Okay, go for it.
I know.
And I guess for you guys, I think one final question. What do you think has been your best win with regard to getting some change made with regards to some schools or even with certain kinds of companies changing their behavior? Have you had one where you're like, yeah, all right,
I think the biggest win is getting those injectable epinephrines into the schools, undesignated. I think that's the biggest win.
Because that's literally going to save kids' lives.
Yes, without a doubt.
And is that statewide?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just New York State, but it's like, I think we're almost in all 50 states now.
It had to go state by state by state?
State by state by state.
Oh, because
that's where that governance thing comes in, Laura, and that's when it gets really cool. So the federal law has to be passed.
Right.
Then the states have to go state by state.
And then each state goes and says, okay, fine, we'll do it. Okay, fine, we'll do it. That's... One, it's amazing. Two, it's crazy to me that they literally just all can't be like, and we're done.
It's the legal process.
People complain.
Everything takes time.
So now that we're going to be freshly into a new year, what are you going to be working on in 2017?
I'm doing a lot of really great things, actually, in 2017. I'm headed to Amsterdam to speak at a conference in March.
Awesome.
On disruption, how to pivot and change your life in the face of disruption. Not change your life, but I guess change your life, right?
Yeah,
change your work life. And very excited about that. Adding more companies, very exciting. We have a lot of other projects that we're working on right now through Wildlife in Los Angeles, through Postal New York, and the other companies that I represent. So it's very exciting.
Awesome, so cool. You are, it's. I have to say, Heidi, I'm so thrilled for you because we were all in that same crazy mess 7-8 years ago. We were all trying to figure out what we're doing, and it's awesome to see that you're not just standing but thriving, and you are a Jamaican lady because you have multiple jobs.
Well, that's why you love me, isn't it?
It is. You remind me of my mom. But I think it's really awesome to see that you take all of your great skills and you use them in so many different, really custom, special ways, and it's great to see. So thanks, Heidi, for coming on show. I am so happy to have had you.
Well, thank you, Laura. And honestly, I feel the exact same way about you.
Aww.
Like you're always going to be my little sister.
Aw, thanks, Heidi. And that's it for this episode of The Reset. We will put the show notes in for New Moto, for Your Great Companies, but also Brooklyn Allergy Mom and
the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America.
And so please sign up for those things. Please donate for those things. If you want to find ways to get involved, a simple thing to do is to actually go to these sites, read what's happening, and make a donation. Not that hard. Really, it isn't. And thanks very much.
Thanks, Laura.
The Reset Podcast is sponsored by Bose. With my new Bose QC35 headphones, nothing gets between me and my music. The noise canceling is world class. They're completely Bluetooth, so there's no wires. The sound is amazing. My producer and I love these so much that we use them to record every single show. For more information about Bose QC35 headphones and other Bose products, check out Bose.com.
Audiation.